Come here now, girl.
Hello and welcome to What's Map, your one-stop shop for everything workshop. I'm BonBonB and you're very, very welcome. Well, I know it's Saturday and Saturday isn't really a request day, but today's map has been requested by a number of people over the week. People saying to me, hey BonBon, you've seen that map, you've seen that map. Are you going to review that map? Well, I have seen it, and I was already scheduled to review it. My scheduled list is quite often on Patreon free to view, in case you want to see what's coming up the following week. So, today's map, the star of the show will be the terrain map, without question. Second star will probably be the asset, and the third one will be probably the factoid, because it's quite funny. Beyond that, there's not too much to get excited about. You might get stressed, you might get trigger happy, and if you're going to get trigger happy, you might as well hit that like button now. Go on, do it. That's right, hitting the like button really does support the channel, gets me seen by more people and helps me grow a little bit more every single day, so thanks for your support. Today's map is Edge of the Desert by Belly One Husband. What a great creator name. I've got a great visual. I don't know if it's the actual visual of the creator, but I've got a great visual. There's your start square. You can't really see what's going on from here. To wait till we get down at ground level for a proper look. The resources, a couple of bold streaks, whether they're accessible or not, you'll have to decide when we get down to ground level. Also, off to the workshop, it is 100% vanilla. The only things we'll be using is the vanilla tropical theme and the realistic 1.2 LUT. The only thing in the description is support me on Patreon, which is all well and good. I have no problem with people asking for support on Patreon, but word to the wise, a bit of advice. Old Hip has asked, looking good, any chance of more info? And there's no reply. If you want people to support you on Patreon, I would suggest when people ask you a question, interact with them, and they are more likely to want to support you on Patreon. So anyways, that's my grumble. That's my grumble out the way there. And I have a problem with Patreon. I've got Patreon myself, and I do try to interact with people, especially those that are on Patreon. Okay, now that lumpy bit is off in the fog, so we're going to let it go. And this jinky janky here is also mostly in the fog, so I'm going to kind of let that go as well. To be honest, it doesn't make any difference, as you'll see as the map goes on. Now, a little bit of background to the map as the two highways slowly move together. The creator, on the Tuesday the 25th of June, they released a map called Riverland. Let me have a quick look at this janky here. If you have a look down at this janky here, a little bit of terrain glitching underneath the road where it's just not quite meeting the ground. Yeah, a little bit forced terrain glitching there. So yeah, Tuesday 25th, they released a map called Riverland. And then Edge of the Desert, this one here, this one was released on the Friday, so 3 days later. 3 days to build a map? Yeah, you kind of need to spend a bit more time really in 3 days. You can turn out a map in 3 days, as you can see by today's show. But also on the Friday, they released a map called Tropic Haven. So that was 2 maps in 3 days they managed to put out. As the two roads slowly drift apart here. But also on the Friday, they released a map called Island of Lie, which is 3 maps in 5 days they've managed to complete. And have a look over here. We've got a lump here. Now here, this is just a small thing, right? Not a huge problem with the actual lump, but if I was a structural engineer, I would want to take the road just across to the right, and it'd be perfectly flat if we stuck along this bit of the road here. I think that'd be much preferable. So that's 3 maps in 5 days. And then, also on the Friday, Taju of Mo. Apologise for the pronunciation there. So that was 4 maps in 5 days. Yeah, you see where I'm going there. You see where I'm going with this. Down here we've got no problem with level crossing the highway on this particular map. It's not a huge city map, so this isn't a big problem, and this does happen in certain parts of the world, so that is fine. As the 2 roads separate very interestingly apart here. They're going to come back together in a second. If you have a look here, we've got the world's biggest jinky janky, the jinky janky to break all jinky jankies here, hard left as the 2 roads start coming back together again. Okay, but now watch. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Boom. That way. Now I'm going to refer to this as the bottle opener. I think you probably see where I'm coming from with that one there, the bottle opener. All good. And then we've got another level crossing to make our way across here as well. So anyway, so that was 4 maps in 5 days after releasing a map. So 4 maps in 3 days, sorry, after releasing a map on the Tuesday. And then on the Saturday, they released Volcano. See what you did there? Volcano. Yeah. More word to the wise. Okay. You want people to support you on Patreon. They're going to want quality. They'll appreciate quality, and they may even give you money for quality, which is great. But you can't produce quality if you're churning out. A typical map takes a lot longer. Oh, hang on. Let me show you the best bit of the road network on the entire map here. The best bit of the road network is the plopped vanilla wishbone intersection. For those of you who know the show, you'll know that I don't truly appreciate this intersection, and yet it's the best bit of the whole map in terms of the road layouts. It gets worse, by the way, guys. It gets worse. So yeah, I don't know how long this map took to make. It's a very interesting bit of terrain. We'll talk about that in a moment. This is just, well, it's 100% vanilla. So I appreciate and understand that you've got no idea about bloody penguins. Tunnel enabler. So you can't build tunnels. But you look at these, they don't come down to ground. Both don't come down to ground. One stays as a bridge all the way over. One goes elevated. It's really weird and bizarre. And weird. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the roads any further. You can just make up your own mind from this point in. We are heading down towards the start square here, by the way. So this is worth the journey. Yes. Belly husband. A typical map for an average player. You may be talking 4 to 6 hours to build a map. Typical. Okay. For a good map, in excess of 10 hours. And to give you a bit of a heads up to the 2 maps that I've made up until this date, the first one was about 20 hours work and the second one was about 40 hours work. Now, I'm not saying you should spend 20 or 40 hours, you spend as long as you like, but if you're struggling to get Patreon supporters, then it might be because you are rushing out a lot of stuff and not spending enough time on it. Just giving advice. Anyway, we're now at the start square, and over here we have got, it's a really nice quirky asset today. You're going to like it. As we're in the desert, the first thing I thought of was a Scottish castle. It's Pitfitchie Castle, Aberdeenshire, Scotland by mntoes. It's a real life thing. Loving the pebble dash texture on this. Loving it. It's a quirky little castle. Very nice. Now factoids, because factoids, this one isn't out of the book. I learnt this today just by googling something else and it came up. King Canute, old king from over 1,000 years ago of England, Denmark and Norway. He was famous for trying to send back the tide because he was the king, and of course the tide should do what it's told, but it wouldn't listen. Anyway, apparently the correct spelling of Canute isn't C-A-N-U-T-E, it's C-N-U-T. Canute. See you next Tuesday. Pitfitchie Castle, Aberdeenshire, Scotland by mntoes. This is really very lovely indeed. Very nice work. We'll have a look at the rail. Now, I know you're expecting the rail to be a bit lumpy bumpy and not great. And you'd be right, it's lumpy bumpy and not great. I'm going to take the more forgiving route and we'll skip straight through to the intermission, because there's no point in me just being overly critical and stuff like that here, the roller coaster here. What's the point? It's not going to achieve anything, is it? We could take the right, but this is the less pleasing route to the edge of the map. And while we could look at that, so I'm going to go this route because this is slightly better and there's slightly less to moan about, although we're not level. It's a realistic map and we are definitely climbing, and we've got lumps and bumps and jankies as well. It's not magical, I've got to tell you, it's not magical, but I do love the terrain on this map. The terrain is the star.
Fed up with vanilla or ploppable parking lots in your city? Wondering what Bonnie Day's parking lots roads is all about? Then you need BonBonB's parking lots tutorial. Click the information button below.
And so back to the shipping routes at Edge of the Desert by Belly One Head Husband. We've got two. This one's absolutely fine. I'm not exactly sure where you put your harbour, but this one's absolutely fine. This one is also absolutely fine, but there's even less reason to... I don't think there's any reason to use this one at all, because there's just nowhere to pop a harbour down that side, really. We've got a couple of air routes, but I'm not sure where you'd realistically put down an airport on this particular map. Now, the water flow is all edge of map water source, so we've got no spawn points, which means that this is our start square water. It's completely static, and once you start pumping sewage into it, it's going to become super stagnant. Honestly, it's not really going to work. Water source, I think we're definitely looking at water towers on this map. And so water towers, those of you that don't like water towers, I'm not a big fan of water towers personally. They do make more sense in the mountainous region though, so I kind of get it. Okay. Right, so I'm loving the terrain on this. This is why so many people have asked me to have a look at this one. And Belly One Husband has obviously got a great view for an interesting map design. But look, it's all just pixelated and just terrain partied and just basically plopped and not touched. I'm going to grab the smoothing tool, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the smoothing tool over just once. I'm not going to spend any great time doing this one. I'm just going to show you how much different it can appear with just a couple of strokes of the smoothing tool. It's not going to be great. I'm honest with you. I'd spent a lot more time doing this one, hence 20 to 40 hours to build a map. But I'm just going to do this whole valley, whole ravine down here with a little stroke of the softener like this over the entire area. We're going to use this as a screenshot, the finished polished thing for the screenshot. And I do want people to actually watch this video, and the previous screenshot would have been a little bit, well, there you go. That already looks better. I think we need to have a little bit more texture into the cliffs, so I've probably over smoothed the cliffs a little bit. Let's compare that with this valley, and I think you can see already that is much sharper, much cleaner, and much more. You're more likely to want to play that one. So this is your start square. Not really too much space to build in the start square. There is space, but it's not too much. Compare that with the valley that we just smoothed out, and there's a whole lot more room to build in here. I think I preferred this to have been the start square. Maybe push that water back just a little bit to give a little bit more build room. Okay. And of course we've got build space where the highways enter the map as well, but there we are. What do you think? What do you think? I've moaned and groaned a lot, but you can tell me that I'm wrong. Your chance to vote on the map. Is it a 1-star map? Is it a 5-star map? Is it somewhere in between? Your vote really does count. We'll use it at the end of the month for the Viewer's Choice Top 10. Will this be one of the top 10 maps of the month? Only you can decide. And of course, as of last night, June's top 10 maps of the month are now live, and I'll link that in at the end of today's show. Aesthetically, it's striking, it's memorable. Okay, it's not pretty, but the striking and the memorable part of it, I think, are so strong that I'm gonna knock it up to 3 stars. 3 stars for aesthetics, but only just very low 3. Detailing, 1 star. I can't really say any more than that. There's not really anything that can't have been done better, I'm afraid. I'm sorry to say it, Belly, but you have rushed it. Gameplay potential. Water flow issues. It needs a lot of fixing. It is a playable map. I'm not sure anybody really want to right now. I'm going to give it 2 stars. It does need improvement, but it is playable. It's not completely broken. Edge of the Desert by Belly One Husband. There, I've reviewed it. Stop asking me. Well, thanks for watching, for commenting, for liking, and for subscribing, for joining me for another map in the What's Map series. Yes, of course, the top 10 maps from June are now on the screen. Do go and have a little look at that one. And of course, the map from just over a year ago, which has just had the vote popped on it. So go and have a little watch of that. And if you like voting, give that one a little vote too. Thanks for watching. I will see you tomorrow for the Steam Weekly Chart Show and maybe an extra special tutorial.